everyone, Alexa Donne here, and today I am coming at you with 7 huge mistakes that writers make that hold them back. These are things that writers do that essentially stop them from improving and therefore from kind of taking the next steps in their craft, in their editing, in their publishing journey to producing a book and potentially getting published. I know so many of you are looking for the answer. How do I know when I'm ready? How do I know when my book is ready? How do I get published? And if you are making any of these huge mistakes, well, stop making them is the first step to improving as a writer and getting to that next step. So the first huge mistake I see writers make is they think that their first draft is their book. They think they're done. You write a book and you poof and oh, it's amazing, it's done, publish, no, or query, no. First drafts are first drafts. First drafts are messy. Even amazing writers, first drafts are not final drafts. Every book, no matter how talented and skilled you are, needs editing. And here's the thing, let me tell you, we can tell when you query or publish a first draft. It's honestly really, really obvious, so don't do it. You're just holding yourself back and you're hurting yourself by basically thinking you're done when you're done with your first draft. The second huge mistake I see writers make is that they basically write and publish in a vacuum. They don't solicit feedback from other writers. Soliciting feedback from your family and friends doesn't count because they lie to you. They love you, so they lie to you. You need to open yourself up to other people giving you feedback on your work. You need to have other people read your work. When they give you feedback, you need to open up and expand your mind and get comfortable listening to it and taking it on board. Being open to hearing from other people kind of what you're writing and what you're doing and reacting well to it and then turning it into positive action is the only way to improve as a writer and to survive as a writer long term. To be a professional writer is to have other people respond to your work, judge your work, give you feedback on your work, whether it's readers, reviewers, your agent, your editor. You have to learn how to deal with these different voices who are going to talk to you about what you're working on. The third huge mistake I see writers make is hasty revision or editing. So yeah, you edit your book, but do you really? This means you consider editing, reading through it and fixing typos, or you are revising, but your changes are so cosmetic that you're not actually improving the book. Basically, if you're rushing through revisions or editing, your end product is going to be sloppy. Sloppy might as well be a first draft, and sloppy doesn't get you where you want to go. Tied to this is not knowing how to edit or being, God forbid, unwilling to edit. Not knowing how to edit isn't necessarily your fault, and honestly, you can only learn how to do this by practice. Soliciting those outside opinions helps a lot. Working with critique partners or beta readers and hearing their feedback and maybe even asking them like, well, do you have any ideas for how to fix this? You do enough trial and error and you will learn how to revise your own work. It is an art, not a science. There are videos and guides on this. I have one, and I will tell you it's not easy, but it is a big mistake that people make where they don't know how to edit, so they don't really edit their work. And then the third subcategory of being unwilling to edit your work, this kind of falls into the if you think your first draft is your final draft, you are wrong. If you were unwilling to edit your work because you think it's perfect, I can't help you. You're doomed. The arrogance of thinking you are uneditable, that what you write is gold, that arrogance and that inability to engage critically with your work is holding you back. It's going to hold you back, and no one's going to like working with you. The fourth huge mistake I see writers making is rushing into the publishing process. So on the traditional side, this means rushing into querying or even submitting your work to publishers that don't require agents, or rushing into self-publishing. So often this ties into the other thing. So you want to publish a first draft or publish or query a book that hasn't been edited or you edited it poorly. Rushing into the publication process and essentially rushing into your career, into the career that you want to have, is a huge mistake because first impressions do matter. Specifically, let's say in a best case scenario with traditional publishing, if you do manage to get an agent or manage to get a small publishing deal without an agent, or if you're self-publishing and you've rushed into it, that's your debut. You get one chance to debut, and your debut does matter. While there are cases where people can overcome a poor debut, so many people never do. Once you have your work out in the universe and you have a sales history, that is going to follow you forever, unless you want to change your name, but that's a whole other topic. Rushing does not help you. It's worth putting in the time and working on multiple projects and multiple books, learning how to edit, and putting the best possible work forth. Rushing to publication matters more and hurts you more when you do actually publish sloppy or bad or not ready amateurish work. It doesn't really screw you over with agents. It screws you over in the sense that once you query a book that is sloppy or not good and they pass, like, you're done with that book. But most agents aren't going to remember you for querying a sloppy or bad book, at least not if you do it once. If you are a serial querier of crappy books, they do sometimes remember. Some people do develop reputations, but generally speaking, if you are watching this and go, oh gosh, I queried something that wasn't ready, my career's over, not really. They're probably not going to remember. The fifth huge mistake that I see writers make is that they hang on to one idea for way, way, way too long. One idea or one book. So often I see this where someone has been nursing this grand idea for their novel, or even writing it or having written it since they were a preteen or a teenager or their young 20s. This kind of scales and differs depending on your age. Working on one idea endlessly, not letting go, or writing a book and then editing it to death for years and years and years and years and querying the same project over and over again. This is a huge mistake. So often it's the next thing that is the thing that works, and specific to the ideas that you come up with when you were younger. There are exceptions to this. Most often when someone leaves behind an idea they had as a teenager, works on other stuff, and then comes back to the idea of their youth as a more experienced writer and writes it fresh. That can work out, it does happen, but generally speaking, I have seen the ideas and books and things that we write when we are younger are less sophisticated. They just are, especially the teenage stuff. It tends to be melodramatic, it's more tropey, it's less original. And that's actually just a natural part of growing older and, reading more and becoming more familiar with story and craft and improving as a writer. It's essential to go through those phases to get to the writer you're going to be. But if you cannot let go of the old ideas, the old projects, and the one book, you're going to just be spinning your wheels in place for years and years and years. And 99% of the time, it's not going to work out. The number one thing you can do as a writer, if you feel stagnant, if you're stalling, if something just isn't working, is start a new project, start a new idea. You'd be shocked how often when you let go of the thing that is really close to your heart and you try something else, how that something else is the thing that gets you an agent or gets you a publishing deal. It happened to me. The sixth huge mistake that I see writers making is they become too attached on a micro level to specific ideas within a book, to specific characters, lines, scenes, and so on. If you've heard the adage, killing your darlings, this is an essential part of leveling up as a writer. You have to learn to kill the things that you love. And sometimes that is moving on from one project to the next, but on that micro level, it really is, oh, that's your favorite line in the book, but if it's just not working, cut it. You love that scene, sometimes you have to cut it. And when you push through the pain, you have too many characters, you love this side character, but they're just not really contributing to the plot, and you have to kill them metaphorically. You just remove them from the book. Once you push through that and you do it, and then you go through it, you grow, you learn, you go, oh gosh, it's better without that thing. It is painful, it is a painful process, but you have to learn to let go of these things that you love, that you are really attached to, in order to get better as a writer. And the seventh huge mistake that I see writers making, this is probably The biggest one that I see in terms of what I think holds a lot of aspiring writers back, especially from traditional publishing, from a professional career in writing, and that is fear of rejection. It's natural to be afraid of putting yourself out there, and so creative work is always personal, and it's scary to go out there and be like, what if this professional hates it? What if the readers hate it? What if the reviewers hate it? And it always hurts, trust me, rejection always hurts. But I think it's that fear of rejection that holds so many writers back from leveling up, from pushing themselves in their craft and their ideas, and taking the risks and leaps that are worth taking in order to get to that final step and that final stage. You have to be willing to put yourself out there with critique partners, with agents, then with publishers, and then with the general public. Putting yourself out there and learning to kind of cope with rejection in a healthy way, and to turn rejection or critical feedback into positive action through editing or just, Zen mental health or what have you, is essential for becoming a better creative being and a better professional writer. I know a lot of you watch this channel because I offer advice specifically for being traditionally published. Now, all of these things I've gone over apply to anyone, no matter what your publishing avenue is, but this one is specifically very relevant to those of you who really want to be traditionally published. I think the biggest mistake you're making, or that I see that is holding people back, is that fear of rejection. And in combination with all the other things I mentioned, being too close to the material and not being willing to share your work with others, not engaging with criticism and learning to edit and kind of leveling yourself up as a writer, it's holding you back if traditional publishing is what you want to pursue. Or even if you are interested in self-publishing, all of these things, you need to push through them and get better at them, because then you are publishing the best book possible. And you always want to produce the best possible book to reach readers. So that's it. 7 huge mistakes that I see writers make that hold them back. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. It lets me know I should make more of these fun, listicle type X things and things that bother me, and things for publishing and writing. I do really enjoy making them. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, I post new videos 2 to 3 times a week all about YA, reading and writing, books, the industry, getting published, especially traditionally published, writing craft, and so on. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and as always, happy writing.